Welcome to the Round 7 edition of the Brisbane Lions Fancast, and sadly, again, Mike, we're left wondering what went wrong.
Yeah, we are. It's the third time in 6 rounds, isn't it, Dom, where the boys have come out in the first quarter and just been blown off the park. That's the Bulldogs, Kangas, and now the Swannies, and they were taught another lesson, weren't they, really, the Lions, and back to the drawing board. If
there's any saving grace from this game, it is the fact that it was the Premiers at home, and the fact that we did play 3 good quarters, but it is still a very hollow feeling when the siren goes and you see our boys 50 points down or more.
3 times out of 6, there's been blowouts in the first quarter, and it was great to play 3 good quarters, and we know Sydney doesn't take their foot off the pedal, so they were competing right until the end. So those last 3 quarters weren't hollow performances by Brisbane. They can take something out of it. But still, to be blown away in the first quarter when the match is up for grabs and the heat's on must be just so disappointing for Michael Voss. I mean, the match was over at quarter time, wasn't it? There's no turning around 40-point deficits against Sydney in Sydney.
The good news is that we have 7 more very tough matches in which we can prove ourselves. Jack Redden on the show last week mentioned that he thinks this stretch will show the true colours of this group.
Yeah, exactly. Starting with this week with the West Coast Eagles, and one win doesn't change everything, but I'll tell you what, it takes a hell of a lot of pressure off it, and it also gets a little bit of momentum going your way when you have got that tough run coming up.
Footy can change very quickly. That's the thing that I think we've all learned from following it. One game can completely transform a season and a club's prospects.
Yeah, it can. It can certainly turn things around. I think Brisbane has to turn it around this weekend because we're only in round 7, but we know the difficult stretch they've got, and they've harped on all year about trying to make the Gabba a fortress, and I think this is the game when you can actually put your words into action and show the public and show themselves, more importantly, that they do have a good team and that they're competitive, because people aren't going to believe that shortly if the performances keep going the way they have been.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to get any easier over the next 7 weeks, but I am quite happy about that because I think we really need this period to bring out what this side truly is.
We need to see. Everyone wants to see whether Brisbane's made strides forward, and this next block's going to show us that. And there might be a couple of new faces this week, which might spark the team. They won't be scarred by the losses last week.
Maybe a particularly old face as well.
Yeah, obviously talking about Blackie there, I'll tell him you said that. But, so he's hopefully he'll come back. He's played 3 games in the reserves now, and we all know what he brings to the team. So it'd be great to see Simon Black's face underneath the bottom of packs and firing at hand passes to guys running past him.
I think he could be a big transformation for our midfield. But beyond that, you've got Andrew Rains, who I think we both think probably shouldn't have been dropped last week.
It was odd to me because I thought he'd actually been quite good in Brisbane's 2 victories. I know he was there for round 4 against the Kangaroos as well. So we know one player doesn't make a difference, but I think what Rains he brings to the team is he brings one-on-one competitiveness. His skills often let him down, but he brings a defensive mindset and accountability and one-on-one stuff. And I tweeted something about it at the time. I was shocked when he was left out. So I'll be very, very interested to see if he's brought back in this week.
Well, he won the most professional player award at the Best and Fairest last year, which probably speaks volumes about the kind of guy he is around the club.
We'll have to see, though, because if Black comes back and if Rains comes back, the midfield squeeze starts to happen a little bit there, doesn't it?
Which might make it hard for a player who I really want to see come in, Patrick Karnezis, to force his way in.
He's a terrifically talented player, Patrick Karnezis, and I know he's probably, if he's not your favourite, he's certainly one of your favourites. And
can't have favourites, be professional.
No, but we've all got favourites, Dom.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a great player to watch, Paddy. I mean, I can see why everyone likes watching him play. When he's got the ball, he's terrific. He showed in the pre-season just what he can do in the midfield. He's just got that extra little bit of time, and he's got a bit of poise and a bit of quality about him that maybe we lack in there. But I think the knock on him for a little while, what I understand anyway, is that it's the defensive side of his game, and it's running both ways, and it's doing defensive things.
Yeah, and it has been good to see him leading quite a few NEFL tackling stats to the side, and I assume that's probably some of the signs that the selection committee have been after from him.
That's right, and there obviously has to be room for these guys. I mean, here we're just sprouting names: Black, Rains, Karnezis, get them all in.
It'd be great to play 28, wouldn't it?
That's right, guys have to miss out, and that's not our job, but that means there's 2 or 3 guys that played last week that you would have to make way for, and then, after quarter time, a lot of them tried very hard.
Yeah, it's hard to make the calls. One player who definitely, I think, will be playing on Saturday afternoon is Pearce Hanley. He's been just about, if not our best player so far this year, and we've got a chat with him on the Fancast right after this.
At the Brisbane Lions, we love social media. Liking our fan page on Facebook or following at Brisbane Lions on Twitter is a great way to keep up to date with the latest Lions news and access exclusive behind-the-scenes content. You could also win some great prizes by entering one of our online competitions.
Joining us on the Fancast now for a chat is Pearce Hanley. Pearce, how do you reckon the boys are tracking after what was probably a bit of a disappointing loss again on the weekend?
We're a bit down. Obviously, it wasn't a great performance, but well, the joys of footy. Really, we get to do it all again next week, and we're looking forward to it. We're trying to redeem ourselves, and we've a point to prove, and a lot of people that are disappointed in us. So we want to do the best by them.
Pearce, I'm sure you have spoken about it since the match, but that's the third, I guess, disappointing result in 6 weeks, and particularly those first quarters, you're being blown away early. Have you guys been able to identify anything, whether it's pre-match or during that first quarter, that you think might be sort of causing those slow starts?
There's nothing really pre-match. Like our training during the week has been as good as ever, and pre-game we're ready to go. I guess it's just composure. We haven't been dealing with pressure very well so far. When teams give us different looks that we don't expect, we haven't been dealing with it well out in the ground. So the players, we've addressed that. We've sat down during the week, and we're thinking of ways through that, and we're going to train it tomorrow, and hopefully we're able to put it into practice sooner rather than later and start getting a few good results on the board.
Is the confidence within the group a bit low at the moment?
Well, I'll have to say it's not an all-time low, but obviously when you do get smacked around a bit and you do put in a bad performance like that, confidence isn't going to be great. But it's up to a few of the older boys and the leaders of the club to keep an open mind and keep positive and try and get the young boys through. And with the reserves are playing very well, so if they can bring enthusiasm and try and keep the group up, then that'd be good. But things haven't been too bad.
Where do you fit in there, Pearce? Because we heard Vossi after the game, critical might be a strong word, but obviously not pleased with the performance of the senior players and expecting them to lead. Do you feel like you're starting to become that bracket of senior player that can help the younger guys?
Yeah, definitely. I've played enough games now where I know what's going on and I know what's expected, and I'm part of that group where I have to lead by example and show the younger boys how it's done. But obviously that needs to improve from me and from a lot of the other boys, and we're working on that. On
your personal position on the field, you've been playing a bit more on the wing and into the midfield. Do you see that becoming a permanent move as your career goes on?
It's a good question. I'm not too sure. I reckon possibly it will be, given the personnel that we have in midfield, that they want me in there with them, but pretty much wherever I'm needed. If I'm needed down back or in the midfield or on the wing, then I'm happy to do that. I've trained for all positions, so with the way rotations are these days, you have to play more than one position. So I'm happy to do that, and I reckon in the coming weeks and even into my career, I will be seen a lot more in the midfield.
Pearce, you've probably answered this question 100 times, but there might be some people out there that haven't heard, but your kicking skills are quite incredible for someone who only picked up a share in sort of 5 or 6 years ago. Can you tell the listeners out there what it was like in those early days trying to kick the oval ball, and how you've been able to transform that and become one of the better kicks in the club?
Yeah, obviously at the start it was a bit foreign to me. I didn't play any rugby as a kid, so I hadn't really got my hands on the oval-shaped ball, but I had a lot of people helping me, and mainly Chris Johnson. He gave me a few techniques, and then from there it was pretty much just practice. It's all I did. I carried the footy around in my hands with me for the first 6 months, just around the house. When I went out, just kicking it to myself and getting the right feel for it, and when it was hitting the boot. So yeah, and then just from there I just put in hours of practice.
Now, obviously, you're one of the 3 names that have been bandied around in the media, along with Richie and Louis, as coming out of contract this year. I'm sure you probably don't want to provide a running commentary on the situation, but can you give any indication on where you currently sit in the whole playing future regard?
Yeah, well, I guess I know as much as you at this stage. I haven't really thought about it too much. I've still been working during the week trying to improve my game. I've just got a new manager in Paul Connors, and he's going to start negotiations with the club, or he's going to start talking to them. So that's why I got him as my manager. He's going to deal with that sort of stuff and let me play my football.
In the last couple of weeks, Louis and now Richie came out and have both said that they're really keen to stay. They love the club. I mean, obviously there's sort of a lot of negotiations and things to sort out between now and then. You've been at the club for about 5 years now, Pearce. How do you feel about your time at the club, and can you see them going forward, and do you have the same feelings as those two boys?
Yeah, well, obviously Brisbane brought me out here and gave them my chance, and as far as I'm concerned, it's home. We're going in the right direction. We might not have showed that in the last few weeks, but there's definitely a group of boys there that can go a long way in the next few years, and it would be good to be a part of that. But obviously, like I said, I'll just leave my manager to sort out how long that's for.
Just before we let you go, Pearce, I know that you're pretty good friends with Clay Beams. Can you let us know how he's tracking after his ACL surgery?
Yeah, Clay is he's going along fine. He's still in Melbourne after his operation. He couldn't fly back for 2 weeks after, and I'm going to collect him on Thursday. He's bored out of his mind, so he's looking forward to coming home. But yeah, I think given the circumstances, he's in good spirits.
That's great to hear. All the best for the match against West Coast and the rest of the season, and thanks for joining us on the Fancast today.
Thanks, guys.
Polkinghorne chances his arm, gets it to Adcock. The handball's got through. Long kick towards full forward. It's going to go. It's Polkinghorne. They're in front. Pandemonium at the Gabba.
I'm sure everyone remembers that audio from the last time we played West Coast at the Gabba.
That was probably the most exciting game at the Gabba last year, and obviously ended up on the right side of the ledger for the Lions. So fingers crossed it's that exciting with the same result would be nice.
Yeah, so we do play the Eagles on Saturday afternoon. It's the first time there's been a Saturday afternoon game at the Gabba for a fair while, in my memory at least.
Yeah, the nice traditional time slot, 2 of 2:10. So
yeah.
No excuse for people, I think. Junior sport's over, and get out there and support the team. You can't just be... I guess most clubs don't want bandwagon supporters. They want guys that are there the whole way. So this is your chance to get out and support your team.
I think there were also quite a few people who last year when we played West Coast thought, it's probably not going to be a great game, I won't go along, and you missed out. So don't let it happen again.
Absolutely.
That's all we've got time for today on the Fancast. We'll be back next week to preview the match down in Melbourne against Essendon, and hopefully we'll have another great West Coast game to look back on, Mike.
Yeah, that'd be great, Dom.
It would be. We'll see you then.
See you guys.